Hello, everybody, and how are you on this beautiful and amazing day? Well, today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Carolin Hauser. Carolin and I met because she offers a very unique course and way of restoring, well, I wouldn't say restoring, Carolin will explain that to you, working with relationships. Carolin, welcome. I'm so delighted to have you join us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, always. And people, Carolin and I, before we came on the call, Carolin was realizing she doesn't normally sit on that side before at this time of the morning. So we've just been playing with the sun. On that note, playing with the sun and just playing, Carolin, please introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are, how you got to where you are today, and anything else that comes forward while you're chatting.
Yes. So I'm from Germany originally, and I'm a naturopathic doctor. I have two children. One just walked to the picture, and we're in Arizona, so we're different time zone. It's morning for us. I was trained as a naturopathic doctor and humanistic psychotherapist and family constellations facilitator in Germany. I left there about 20 years ago now. I've never really had a job. The only work I've been doing is healing work. Not that I've necessarily always made money with it. That's a completely another story.
Yes, that is, we know that story, yes.
But yeah, so in the way I came to the healing work, that I really struggled with anorexia and bulimia, so eating disorders for a long time, from the age 10 till 20 in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing had helped, and luckily my mom never gave up on me, and introduced me to family constellations. And I had one session, and within a few months after that session, the eating disorders were completely gone. And to me that was a miracle, because my prognosis at that point was to maybe live 10 more years. When you have an addiction for over 10 years, your prognosis to actually live or ever recover is at 5%, so it was pretty dim.
That is
And so,
pretty dim. I didn't
yes,
realize that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And so I feel like I owe my life to that work, and since then I've made it my own and really focused on helping couples. A few years ago, about 8 years ago, I came across a body of work that was really totally eye-opening to me, and changed really the way that I looked at relationships. I struggled in relationships tremendously in life with myself and others.
Mm-hmm.
And together with the family constellations, and then that groundbreaking research I came across 8 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like I truly have the key to helping people have um, totally stable, securely attached relationships. And from that, a lot of abundance and health comes. So that's what the work that I do now. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a relationship coach or a business coach, but I really help couples just up level and get to that next level in terms of their intimacy, their connection, but also flow of health and abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Can you share with people who don't know what family constellations is, just a brief outline of what it is and how you feel it helped you with your challenge?
Yeah. So the best way to explain family constellations that I found after doing it for these many years is it's really a way of looking at our subconscious. Most
Yes.
of the time, or any time actually, that we're struggling in life, it's generally because there's something in our subconscious that's contrary to the thing that we want. And our subconscious works in picture forms. And
Mm-hmm.
um, when trauma happens, bad things, and I'm simplifying, right? So bad things basically imprint into our own subconscious and into our nervous system. And also, if something happened in generations before and it imprinted into our ancestors, trauma can get passed on. So there's a whole science that's called epigenetics that deals with it for anybody who wants to dive deeper.
Oh, it's so
But
powerful.
what the constellation work really does, it goes, so let's say somebody comes and they're struggling with communication, or they're just constantly out of sync with each other, and they don't really know why, and they've consciously tried to do everything. Through the constellation process, you can really get to the root cause of where that pattern is coming from, And through the process of bringing it to the light, it becomes, it becomes known. And somehow, and this part I still can't explain, even though I've been doing these for over 20 years now, the charge or the pattern gets released, and it's almost like it's almost like going to the chiropractor energetically, where the stuff that was out of sync gets put into alignment, and your life has a very different result afterwards. So in my own life, I went to the constellation. Usually traditionally done it was in groups. I do it now without needing groups and doing it one-on-one, but I went there and it was impactful, but nothing immediately happened. And then within the months after, I was able to like buy less food and purge less, or just go for a couple of days without having a distorted relationship with food. And then like 3 or 4 months later, I was pretty much eating normally, and I thought I had healed myself. And then I told a friend of mine, he's like, well, how? Because you have tried to beat this thing for 10 years and we're not successful. So all of a sudden, how? And then I put 2 and 2 together and remembered that I had gone to that workshop. And in my case, my grandmother was in an internment camp from 10 till 20, her age 10 till 20. And so in a way, my soul came and said, hey, let me carry that for you, in an attempt of making her pain less, or carrying her pain for her. And so oftentimes we call this entanglements. Younger souls will come in, or you will come in and try to take your parents' pain, or aunts or uncles or grandparents, because out of kind of like a blind childish love, because we think we're super powerful and can do it. And then our lives start not working because we're carrying stuff, or are entangled, literally energetically wrapped up with all kinds of people in our lineages, and it takes our energy away that we have available to live our life or create our life.
Wow, that is very powerful. How aware are people of this, Carolin? Is it a well-known modality? And as far as the entanglement goes, we're going to explore that a bit more as well. And from the perspective of family constellations, how well-known do you find that this is?
It really depends. So, in European countries, in Mexico, and some other Asian countries, it's super well-known. Here in the United States, when I first started talking about it, maybe 1 out of 10 people had heard about it. Now it's probably 1 out of 3. Okay. So it's definitely, at least heard about it, maybe not done, but so it's definitely increased in popularity. It's very popular in Germany, where I'm Germany, Austria, Switzerland, South Africa, I know is pretty popular.
It's very popular in South Africa. Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I know the States is much vaster than here. And so I would have assumed that it would be more well-known. And so many people I've spoken to, they've never heard of it. So I love your 1 in 3. I think it's about 1 in 100 from the ones I've spoken to. So now with this entanglement, can you expand a little bit more on that? Because to me, I find that fascinating. And people, I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza, and not Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, that speak about it as well, amongst other people. How have you experienced this with your clients yourself? And what is your experience with it and releasing it?
So generally, if we look at ourselves as part of an organism, whether that's life itself or our family, our business, whatever organization or system we belong to, we can imagine it like a mobile, right? The thing that you hang over a baby's crib. And because of faith or karma or contracts that we have, however, whatever you want to believe, we come in with certain learning lessons in life. And in my experience, these learning lessons have to do with who we get entangled with. And the entanglement is literally like us, if we're a piece in the mobile, right, getting entangled with somebody else. And when we do that, the whole mobile tips out of balance, right? So a lot of or the principles in the constellation work are really following the thread and then figuring out how to bring balance to yourself and the whole system. Because the other framework my work is based on is just energy, understanding energy and vibrational levels and frequencies. And harmony has a much higher frequency than conflict. Yeah. And so generally, life starts flowing when you're more and more in harmony, and the less entangled you are with things that you shouldn't be entangled with, the more in harmony you are with your surroundings and also within yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's actually fascinating to me that sometimes you can just have a conversation with somebody and you can leave with an entanglement. And you're like, now, where did this come from? And then energetically, you get to clear it. What has your experience been with this?
You mean in general, or?
Yeah.
So to me, the solution in life really has been to do whatever I can to get myself into a high vibrational state. And high vibrational, it's such an overused term, but David Hawkins really gave us the scientific or the science behind it with the scale of consciousness and different levels. And to me, high vibrational means a space of vibration of 500. To me, I call it your paradise state, your state of being. When you're in that state, you will find that the entanglements happen way less, and that you're not going to get pulled down by them. Or it's almost like you get to a level where, well, you're free in a sense. Yeah. So the lower you are on the vibrational scale, the more entangled you are. It's and the more you free yourself, the higher you go in a sense.
That is very powerful. I often think of it as the analogy of one person's in a motor car and the other one's in an airplane. They don't connect. They can't connect. Yes, so that's a beautiful analogy. I really have appreciated Dr. Hawkins's work. His book, Force versus Power, for me was very powerful. That's just one of his works. How did you come across Dr. Hawkins's work? And
actually, my second husband, he had that book, Power versus Force, and that was the only book he had read for 5 years, and he would read it every evening. He had underlined every single sentence basically, and really worked with it and tried to understand it. And so by the time we met, he had a really good grasp on understanding it. And so I think that was a huge blessing in my life, because I don't know if I would have understood a single word without his help and explanation. And then also I was at a point in my life where I had an outer body experience and just a lot of experiences with energy and energetic levels, but I didn't have the language to put with it. And so it just came at the right time, where it was the perfect explanation for what I was experiencing. Yeah.
That is beautiful. Now, there's a modality where we wrap people in love. Do you feel that's an entanglement? Not personal love, universal, the frequency of universal love. How do you feel about that with your experience?
I mean, it just depends, Hawkins in his book says that, as when you start vibrating higher, you really counterbalance a whole lot of other people, right? And so I don't think there's any harm in sending love and holding love, and
that's so beautiful. Carolin, what is your okay, let me reframe it this way. When you're working with people, what seems to be a common denominator when people are having challenges in their relationship?
That is a very good question. So a common denominator just seems that they're out of sync and they don't really know why. And it comes out in different, symptoms, either having sexless marriages, or fighting all the time, or misunderstanding each other, triggering each other, arguing about things, like whatever, in my world, whatever relationship problem you see is just a symptom of being out of sync. And back to the research that I found 8 years ago that was so life-changing for me is the from what I know now, is the reason is really the same, and it has to do with the way we make love and the way we have sex, because we actually have two programs, and one will keep us in kind of like a low vibrational procreation, carnal, more animalistic, and that's not, I'm not saying that with a judgment, I'm just saying it as it is, right? More biological.
It's a vibrational capacity. It's a
Yeah,
lower
or like
vibrational capacity.
in more of the biological procreation kind of program. Or there is another way, and I believe that originally we knew this and we were more connected to this other way that has to do with more, it is physical, but way more spiritual and way more bonded, and creates a very different neurochemical cocktail in ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when we're able to sustain that, we become, as a couple, become very different people. We become lighthearted with each other. We become in sync with each other. Relationships become easy, right? So it's to me, that groundbreaking idea was that it's not about a specific strategy or anything. It's really about learning about our own biochemistry, because our biochemistry has a lot to do with the state of being that we're actually in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know how much Roland and I benefited from your work and your input, so I'd like to thank you for that. And people, I can highly recommend you getting hold of Dr. Carolin. Carolin is really good with what she's doing. Carolin, if there's something you could offer our audience that would help them shift their energy today, what could that be?
So the first thing, and this was one of the most powerful things for me to understand in life, is that we don't have power over other people. We don't have power over our circumstances necessarily, but we do have power over our own state of being. So making your own state of being a top priority, and whether that means you have to work on releasing patterns that you have around self-sacrificing or working too hard, or beating yourself up, these types of things, whether that has to do with eating better, whether that has to do with exercising better, whether that has to do with making love in a different way, right? As human beings, we're made up of the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, and the physical. And so there's things that we can do on a daily basis, very practical things, to help ourselves feel better. And each individual, kind of like what works for you. For me, it's like painting and doing yoga and chanting, so really starting to make your own self-care, and not just self-care, but vibrational care your top priority. And when you do that, your entire life will change. My life went from, having stage 4 burnout, bankruptcy, divorce, everything in 1 year. When I got back to within a year and a half, running a multi-six-figure business, never having made any kind of money like that, being in an amazing relationship, being healthy. And it all just came from that shift of like really making my own vibrational state the top priority. So
I love that, vibrational care. May I use your phrase? To me, that just puts it in so much perspective. People talk about self-love all the time, and I'm going, there's something missing, and you've just given me the answer. It's vibrational care. It's got that is so powerful. How did that come about, your understanding of that? To me, that's just brilliant. That's my golden nugget from this.
Well, I had an out-of-body experience. I thought I was dying and was sent back into my body, and the voice said, "You're not done, and you need to go into pursuit of pleasure and figure out what that is." And so that's how that came about. I didn't know what the heck they meant, or it meant. Yeah.
That is so incredibly powerful. On that note, people, we are going to say, go and look up Carolin, get in connection with her. And Carolin, thank you so much for joining us today. I so appreciate you. Is there anything final for the program that you'd like to share before we say cheerio to everyone?
We always love taking couples to our pure heart alignment process. That's what you went through. It's a complementary process. We just look for feedback. So anybody that's interested in really increasing their intimacy and income and health and just getting to the next level in life, reach out and let me know that you're interested in that. And I'm guessing that the way to reach me is going to be in the show notes. So it will be really
it'll
easy.
Be in the show notes. Yes.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, it was a gift having you. Absolute gift. People, have a wonderful and incredible day. And Carolin, Thank you so, so much. I so appreciate you. Bye-bye, everyone.